Audio Jungle.
And now for the news at 10. Over a year ago, the coronavirus started to spread and wreak havoc across the world. Due to this virus, the Japan Olympics of 2020 were delayed for 1 year, and now, though the pandemic is still in full force across the globe, a majority of fans worldwide are excited to watch athletes compete against each other. According to polls by Kin News, many of them are looking to this event as a way to reduce stress and distract themselves from the current affairs, especially the pandemic. As well as this, our polls showed mixed results in terms of people who wanted to attend the Olympics in person or watch them from the comfort of their couches. Contrary to the popular opinion of sports fans, the opinions of other stakeholders remain mixed between those who want the Olympics to move forward and those who want them delayed even further or even cancelled. Joining us today, we have different representatives from different stakeholder groups to provide us with their opinions on the Olympics. The first representative we have is from Tokyo. This man owns a business at the heart of where the Olympics are set to take place. Thanks for joining us today. Please, share your opinion with us.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show and letting me express my opinions on the Olympics. I own a number of hotels around Tokyo, and some are around a few of the existing infrastructures and stadiums that will host the games. With having the Olympics, it brings a lot of revenue in to businesses and creates an all-around economic boost by bringing in tourism. Every country has seen their economy go down since the pandemic has started, and this might just be what Japan needs to get back on the right track and let business owners flourish again. A lot of businesses are hurting with income, and this might just be what Japan and its people need. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for that fascinating take on the benefits of having the Olympics, Timo. The pandemic has certainly had a damaging effect on local business revenues. Next up on the program, we will hear the perspective of a citizen of Tokyo. But before that, a look at traffic with Brian and the Chopper. Thanks, David. Well, right now, though you can't see it, there's a high amount of traffic on the trails between Kinsman and Harlock Park. Kinesiology students from the University of Alberta are doing whatever they can to stay active. And there's some construction near the Grote Road Bridge, too. It's currently backed up near Emily Murphy. There's even a 3-man pileup that you'd best be avoiding. To get around that, I would suggest using the overpass to enter Harlock through the main entryway. Back to you, David. Thanks, Brian. Joining us next, we have a citizen against the Olympics. Could you share a bit more information about your opinion on the Olympics and why you're against holding them this summer, despite the economic benefits that are possible?
Thank you so much for having me on the broadcast today. For me, I enjoy the Olympics just as much as the next person, but I really don't think this is a good idea at all. We already have enough to deal with as is in our country, and having an influx of people coming from all over the world, bringing who knows what with them, just doesn't sit right with me. The way I see it, Tokyo becomes a gathering place for the virus to spread and possible variants to develop if the Olympics is hosted here. I just don't think we have enough resources to go around, and we don't need that extra strain on our healthcare system. If anything, I would sleep more soundly knowing our healthcare resources are being used by us and not by people who don't even live here.
An interesting take on the current situation and a very scathing rebuttal to our previous guest. Of course, with an influx of tourists, it could lead to a catastrophe and a hefty burden on your healthcare system. Before we move on, let's take a look at the upcoming weather forecast. Thank you for that. Let's get back to our originally scheduled news. Now, we look forward to hearing from the athletes themselves. Joining us today are 2 Canadian athletes offering different perspectives on the situation. Many athletes around the world have also expressed their concerns or anticipation for the upcoming Olympics, and it seems that the standpoints are split even. We now welcome our next guest, an athlete, of course, from Canada. Might you tell us your thoughts on the Olympics?
Personally, I don't see what the big deal is. If you're worried about getting COVID, then stay home. It doesn't matter to me whether or not there's fans there. I'm purely focused on winning. I've dedicated my whole life to get to where I am today as an athlete. In this Olympics, I finally have a real shot of winning gold. Besides, this was supposed to be my last year competing in the Olympics. Canceling the games now, after they've been dangling the hope of rescheduling competition for a whole year since they announced they were canceled in 2020, just wouldn't be right.
Thank you for your opinion on this topic. The Olympic Committee, the members, sure have a lot of things to think about now, don't they? While most countries agree to both having an Olympics this year as well as sending their athletes, the decision with how to proceed lies with the host country, Japan. Seems like things are still up in the air right now. Next up, we have another athlete from Canada who mentioned he was a bit more worried about the threat of the virus. See, I'm personally not comfortable going to the Olympics. I think that bringing people from all over the world to one place is a big risk. This is especially true if we bring fans to Tokyo. The sheer number of people that the Olympics brings to one place is immense, and that brings the risk of creating a hotspot for COVID to spread, evolve, and kill. I'm personally not comfortable putting my teammates and myself at risk for just for one competition. There's so many other competitions we can go to instead. The only exception for me is if we were to have a tightly secluded bubble with relatively extreme measures to keep us all safe from this plague. Thank you. An interesting take. Life is precious after all. Looks like either way, this won't be an easy decision. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank all those who joined us today, and we turn it to you now. Whether you're watching at home or tuning in from the radio, how do you think things should proceed? Let us know by entering the website at the bottom of your screen to share your thoughts. From all of us here at Kin News, thank you, and have a good night.